In the top stories, Utilities Minister pledges improved standard of housing, Delta variant surges in Antigua and Barbuda, and hospitals evacuated after Hurricane Ida swept across Louisiana. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, 31st August 2021. I am Mervyn Thompson. Nationally, Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Sean Richards, says the recent upgrades of housing at Wellington Road are indicative of the government's pledge to improve the quality of life for all. Following a tour of the new homes on Friday, Minister Richards said the housing project represents the fulfillment to provide a better standard of housing for citizens.
If one is to think of the type of homes that you had here before, those homes can be described as substandard. A commitment was made by the Team Unity administration back then to bring a better standard of housing to the persons of St. Kitts in general, and in particular to the persons here in East Bastille.
The two-bedroom apartments are expected to be distributed in mid-September. Plans are also on the way to provide more homes in another location in East Bastille in the near future. The Republic of China, Taiwan's Simply Help Foundation recently made a donation of stationery, toys, and equipment to the Ministry of Education, totaling $66,000. The items were handed over by resident Taiwanese ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Michael Lin, to Honorable Jonelle Powell, Minister of Education. In a post to their Facebook page, the foundation noted that the items handed over included stationery, toys, gift sets, clothing, sports equipment, as well as 10 brand new computers that will be installed in the new computer lab at the St. Paul's Primary School. Several other charities and organizations such as the Explorers Youth Club, Addie's Place, and the St. Kitts Nevis Association of Persons with Disabilities also benefited from the donation. The initiative, now in its 7th year, has assisted many people in need, estimates the foundation. And finally, new and returning teachers on Nevis are being urged to prepare for another challenging academic year as schools are scheduled to open shortly in the midst of a COVID-19 outbreak on the island and the wider federation. On Monday, officials with the Department and Ministry of Education in the Nevis Island Administration, NIA, hosted a virtual convocation for the upcoming opening of the academic year 2021-2022. The ceremony was held at the Nevis Performing Arts Center. Ms. Zanella Claxton, Principal Education Officer, said in addition to the usual challenges in the classrooms, educators will now have to deal with teaching in the face of the rising number of positive COVID-19 cases on the island. She said, quote, "I do not doubt that our current situation has brought increased anxiety for all of you, as we know that schools have the potential to be super spreaders. As we have been told, we have to learn to live with this virus. My advice to you is to take every precaution to protect yourselves, your families, and our nation's children." End quote. She expressed confidence that educators and supporting staff would deliver quality education to the children of Nevis amid the challenges of the pandemic. Schools in Nevis are scheduled to open for in-class learning on Monday, September 6. Also present at the ceremony were Honorable Troy Liburd, Junior Minister of Education in the NIA, Kevin Barrett, Permanent Secretary, and other ministry personnel. Regionally, there is clear data showing the impact of the Delta variant of COVID-19 in fueling transmission in Antigua and Barbuda. Dr. Lester Simon, head of the lab at the Sir Lester Bird Medical Center, says this variant of concern is now the most dominant strain in the country. ABS's Jamie Rocher reports.
The Health Ministry has reported close to 400 new COVID-19 cases between August 1 and 29. Just 2 months earlier, active cases in this country had fallen to 0. Head of the laboratory at Sir Lester Bird Medical Center, Dr. Lester Simon, says data show the Delta variant is driving the increase. The laboratory has sent over 60 samples to the Caribbean Public Health Agency for variant testing between October last year and August 13.
But of the 59 that were conclusive, 34 of them, or 58% of them, were Delta. And 20 or 34% of them were Alpha, with 3 and 2 and 5% being respectively Beta and Gamma.
So what does all this mean?
In simple language, not only are the 4 variants of concern here, but Delta has taken over Antigua and Barbuda.
Variants of concern are more transmissible and cause more severe disease than the original coronavirus first detected in Wuhan, China. Some strains have also developed new ways of evading the body's antibody response.
If you look here, you see what Beta is. Beta, and Beta is here, is a furthest remove from Wuhan as far as being able to be treated.
In terms of increased transmissibility, Dr. Simon says Delta produces a lot more viral particles and gets into cells easier than the wild type and other strains.
If you had 100 viral particles of the wild type, 10 of them were allowed to enter. For the Alpha, 50 of them, 50% were allowed to enter. And for the Delta, 75%.
The laboratory head says they've sent over 20 more samples to CARPHA for variant testing last week. He believes the Delta variant will also dominate in those results. Jamie Giroche, ABS News.
Trinidad and Tobago's CMO, Dr. Roshan Parasram, says the one common denominator among persons dying from COVID is that they were unvaccinated. He says the death statistics in this grouping are overwhelming. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News, has this report.
The vast majority of deaths during this stage of the pandemic are among the unvaccinated. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram confirmed this as he noted the number of deaths for the last 3 months.
But we have 3 fully vaccinated persons out of the 668, giving us a percent of 0.45% of all deaths that would have been vaccinated, meaning of the cases that would have died from June 8 to present, 668, 99.45% were unvaccinated.
Medical Director at Cora Hospital, Dr. Michelle Trotman, noted this is also the grouping that is taking longer to recover from the virus.
We are seeing patients in the emergency room who we are able to treat and send home. But there are some patients who are presenting quite ill, and more than 95% of them, especially when they are in the ICU and HDU, are unvaccinated.
Dr. Trotman said people with underlying illnesses must also take precautions and get vaccinated. And she said persons are coming into the emergency room unaware that they have an underlying condition.
When people's body mass indexes are above a certain amount, we call that being obese. And that has also been playing a major factor in the way that patients are presenting.
And if you didn't already know, Dr. Trotman explained that obesity is considered a comorbidity. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
Internationally, hospitals in the U.S. state of Louisiana have been forced to evacuate dozens of patients after Hurricane Ida knocked out power in many areas, including the city of New Orleans. Ida made landfall on Sunday but has since weakened into a tropical depression, and at least 2 people have died. Al Jazeera's Phil Lavelle reports.
Hurricane Ida took everything in her path. This is the Grand Isle off the coast of Louisiana, one of the first places she roared into.
It was bad. It was the worst thing ever.
From above, Ida ripped off roof after roof. Down below, she brought in the water.
Till it was ankles, knees, almost chest level, so we just put the dogs on the counters and then we climbed into the attic.
Across Louisiana, they watched as Ida caused chaos and devastation, one of the worst storms to ever hit the U.S. mainland.
I think the damage is catastrophic. It's the worst that I've seen in the 20 years that I've been in the parish, and we've seen several hurricanes.
Even hospitals were not immune from Ida. Inside, COVID patients fighting for their lives.
Oh my God!
Outside, the roof coming off one. Across the state, doctors try to ignore the storm and get on with what they do best, treating the ill, knowing more will be on their way.
We had to kind of move out of certain parts of the emergency department because there was debris falling onto the roof.
The wind and the water came hand in hand, the rain hammering from the skies, the storm surges pouring along streets and trapping drivers in their cars. Power lines being ripped out, cutting electricity to the whole city of New Orleans and beyond, just as the daylight was fading.
We've got 1 million people in Louisiana without power.
The people of Louisiana have been told their power is likely to be off for weeks, not just days. This is not just a short-term outage, it is being called by officials a catastrophic failure, which is why here in neighbouring Mississippi you've got all of these trucks. There's about 100 of them, it goes way back. They are all being sent across the border back into Louisiana to help try to get the power back on as soon as possible. For some seeking safety, the only way was up. This woman having to climb into her roof space.
The water came in, I'm thinking from Highway 51, and it came in kind of quick. So the only thing that we could do was climb in the attic.
As did many others who couldn't walk out through the water.
It's pretty clear that if you have evacuated, now is not the time to return.
This is very much a search and rescue operation now. It could take days or weeks. Basic supplies are all on the way.
We're going to stand with you and the people of the Gulf as long as it takes for you to recover.
And Louisiana needs all the help it can get. Phil Lavelle, Al Jazeera, Gulfport, Mississippi.
Georgia has reported one of the worst COVID-19 infection and death rates per capita, and it's driven by the Delta variant. Although cases have dropped slightly from their peak in early August, there are no new lockdowns. Al Jazeera's Robin Forrester Walker reports.
Queuing up for their vaccines, this converted sports hall is being used to administer around 3,000 shots a day. Nino Chatishvili's wait is over.
My uncle died, actually, with the COVID. Me and my friends and my family are very scared. We want to see each other freely. We miss each other. We'll miss walking freely. So yeah, we are vaccinating, so we will be more safe and we will be more able to see each other.
Georgia has the worst reported rates of COVID-19 infection and death per capita in the world. Intensive care units are almost full. This field hospital stands ready to take patients. Yet only around 13% of Georgian adults have been fully vaccinated. Many more are reluctant to do so. They remember how this nurse died last year, shortly after encouraging others to take the AstraZeneca vaccine. And they're listening to the Orthodox Church. These priests compare the vaccination program to a Nazi science experiment. The Prime Minister, himself a devout man, only recently got vaccinated following public criticism.
I blame government of Georgia and the Prime Minister to be not active in this process. They could have conducted more aggressive, more active campaign in support of vaccination process, but they have not done it.
I put that to the Ministry of Health.
These days we are actually working more actively and we are trying to educate people and to have them decide on getting the vaccine, considering what are benefits, what are risks, and we want to respect their decision at this stage.
With Georgia's death and infection rates topping the global charts, the authorities are scrambling to react. One of their solutions, if the public won't come to the vaccination clinics, bring the clinics to the public. This mobile service offering vaccinations has just been rolled out. There's no appointment needed. Yet many remain skeptical or misinformed. This woman told me she'd had COVID-19 twice and wasn't allowed a vaccine. This mother-to-be said she wasn't either. World Health guidelines suggest otherwise. This man said he'd give it a try. People in Georgia are getting vaccinated, but not fast enough yet to bring the pandemic here under control. Robin Forrester Walker, Al Jazeera, Tbilisi.
And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy with winds southeasterly at 3 to 10 miles per hour. Seas are not exceeding 1.2 meters or 4 feet. Weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today is partly sunny, then cloudy, with a 60% or a moderate chance of showers this afternoon, with a slight chance of thunderstorms. Tonight is expected to be fair to partly cloudy with a 30% or a low chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:25 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow at 5:57 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mervan Thompson. Have a great day.